Imagine walking outside and hearing birds chatting in the trees, dogs greeting you with good morning, and even a cow in a field asking, "How's your day going?" What if starting tomorrow, animals could talk just like humans? The world would never be the same again. The first and most obvious change would be in relationships. Pets would no longer just bark, meow, or chirp. They could tell us exactly what they want. A dog could say, "I'm hungry, please give me food," or "Stop petting me, I need some space." Cats might finally explain why they knock things off tables, and parrots could share their thoughts instead of just repeating our words. This would make life with pets both easier and more complicated. Easier because we'd know what they need. More complicated because we'd have to listen to their complaints. Imagine your dog saying, "Don't leave me home alone. I hate it every time you go to work." The bond between humans and pets would become deeper, but also more demanding. But pets are only the beginning. Think about wild animals. A lion in Africa could warn people not to come too close. Elephants could tell us when they're in pain or when their land is being taken away. Even tiny creatures like bees might say, "Stop using pesticides, you're killing us." Suddenly, animals would have voices in human affairs, and we would have to decide whether to listen. This leads to a huge change in laws. Right now, animals are mostly treated as property, not as beings with rights. But if they could talk, how could we ignore them? Imagine a cow standing in court saying, "I don't want to be killed," or a horse telling lawmakers, "Please make bigger stables. We need more space." Governments would have no choice but to rewrite laws to protect animal rights. We might see animal representatives, like a council of dolphins or elephants, arguing for their kind. Courts would be filled with cases where animals demand justice. Hunting, farming, and even using animals in entertainment would face massive challenges. Now let's talk about food. This might be the biggest shock. Today, billions of animals are raised for meat, milk, and eggs. But if chickens, pigs, and cows could talk, would people still eat them? Imagine sitting at the dinner table and your chicken dinner says, "Please don't eat me, I wanted to live," or a cow in a field begging, "I don't want to go to the slaughterhouse." Many people would find it impossible to continue eating meat. Vegetarianism and veganism could become the new normal. Factories might switch to lab-grown meat or plant-based foods, just to avoid the guilt of killing an animal that can speak. Supermarkets could even have labels that say, "This food was made without hurting talking animals." Eating habits across the world would completely transform. Of course, not everyone would stop. Some people might ignore the voices of animals, just like some people today ignore suffering. That could create deep moral conflicts in society. Eating a steak wouldn't just be a private choice anymore. It would feel like ignoring someone begging for their life. Debates about food would become louder than ever before. Relationships between humans and animals in work would also change. Police dogs could give reports, farm animals could negotiate working hours, and zoo animals could demand to be released. Animals in circuses might say, "We don't want to perform tricks," and dolphins in aquariums might cry, "Set us free." The entire way humans use animals would have to be questioned. Even the environment would get a voice. Forest creatures might say, "Stop cutting down our home," and whales in the ocean might tell us how pollution hurts them. Climate change would no longer just be numbers and data. It would be the actual voices of animals crying out for survival. That would make it harder for humans to ignore environmental destruction. But with all these changes, some funny and surprising things would also happen. Imagine squirrels yelling at you for stealing their nuts, mosquitoes asking politely before biting you, or your cat gossiping about the neighbors. Some people might find it wonderful to live in a world full of conversation, while others might find it noisy and overwhelming. So, what would really happen if animals could talk? Our relationships would grow deeper and more complicated. Laws would change to give animals rights, and the way we eat would be transformed forever. Humans would no longer be the only voices that matter. Every cow, every bird, every fish, and even every insect could share their thoughts. The world would become louder, stranger, and more connected than ever before. Maybe the real question is, if animals could talk, would we finally treat them as equals? Or would we still find ways to ignore their voices? One thing is certain, life would never be the same again.